about to get started, Joe. We about to get started. We about to get started. We about to get started. Give me like one more minute. We about to get started. Alright, we here. What's up, y'all? Let me shrink that and put it where it belongs. Ice Cube checks Candace Owens. He checked her and put it in. Let me change that subtitle. I'll put the other one up later. Ice Cube checked her. And so what we're going to do is we're going to break it in. We're going to break it down. I'm going to talk about the roots of gangster rap, what it is. We're going to talk about these misconceptions. And it's the perfect time for me to talk about this because I've been wanting to break the gangster rap thing down more concisely for a minute now because of like some of the comments that I read after videos and all of you dumb niggas that go around repeating what white folks say about gangster rap. And it started in its roots on the West Coast and NWA starting gangster rap. Ice Cube's answer to Candace Owens set the record straight, and it's going to segue right into that topic I've been wanting to talk to y'all about anyway. Because y'all be getting this shit totally wrong when it comes to the West Coast and what NWA brought. And that's because in the late 80s and the early 90s, you had white media trying to, doing like they always do, busting up the lines of communication between folks. And instead of folks paying attention to the music for themselves, they will just listen to what the white media says and not go back and listen to the music and break down what it's really talking about. So as we get through today's, we're going to show what Candace Owens said. We're going to show Ice Cube's reply. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the lyrics of a lot of your early quote unquote gangster rap in the out of the West Coast in the late 80s and the early 90s. And we're going to ask ourselves, is this shit gangster rap or is it message music? Street knowledge, music for understanding and learning. And we're going to go through the lyrics of a lot of popular songs from the late 80s and the early 90s here on the West Coast. And then we're going to decide, is it gangster rap or is that some shit is that a label white folks threw on it to get you to not listen to it? At least in the early days. We know as time went on, the shit got corrupted like everything else once they put their dirty ass hands on it. But before I get all the way into it, welcome everybody, welcome. Thank y'all for joining. Again, we want to say thank you, Janet Jackson, for standing up. We want to say, D.L. Hewley, you sound like a hoe going at a black woman like that over a politician. That was weak. That was weak. And I'm pretty sure he's going to go harder. I'm pretty sure he's going to go harder. You dig? And so we'll monitor that situation with Janet Jackson and D.L. Hewley. We'll monitor that as it goes on. I talked about that already yesterday. So today we're going to talk about some other stuff. But you want the church music in the background, YouTube subscriber? All right, I got you. I got some church music that we're going to play. Yeah, we're going to get to preaching, so here we go. This is my preaching music. This is the preaching music right here. It's the preaching music. Since I'm getting ready to preach, I go ahead and play that. Or let's intro. Let's start this broadcast off with a prayer. Let's start this broadcast off with a prayer. I pray that as we have this show today, that the Lord keeps all you hoe ass niggas out of my chat room. We pray that there's a level of understanding to what's being said. We pray to your Lord Jesus that I only be held to account for what I say, not what people with wax in their dirty ass ears conceive what I say. Lord, 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 we pray to God that hoe ass niggas stay away. We pray. That's my prayer this afternoon, good Lord. That my prayer this good afternoon that we have an understanding, Lord. My prayer is, Lord, that we get some level of people learn and they learn something new from me today, Lord. And if anybody has the spirit of fighting, if anyone has a spirit of being antagonistic, Lord, let them know that DeJuan Brown don't give a fuck how they feel, Lord. Give them a greater divine understanding that I give less than a fuck than John the Baptist gave when he put the head through the water. And I don't know where I'm going with the rest of that line right there. I fucked up what I was gonna say, Lord. But you know, you get me, Jesus. I just pray that all whole ass niggas understand that your feelings don't matter. I pray that people who love Kamala Harris and they think that she can do no wrong, Lord, I pray that they please too stay away and don't give up their opinions, because they don't know that their opinions don't mean a goddamn thing to what I feel and what I think and how I'm gonna say, Lord. And I also pray, this is my last prayer of the day, Lord, that if I hurt anybody's feelings, especially because I will talk some shit today about the East Coast and these misconceptions about West Coast hip hop that was born out of New York, because a lot of them niggas was mad that the niggas from the West Coast came and took that music that they thought that they created and snatched that shit, and the country was listening to us. So they put out a lot of misconceptions about West Coast music, Lord. I pray that as we clarify the true roots of West Coast gangster rap and hip hop, Lord, I pray that anybody that has any kind of discontent with what I'm saying, anyone mad at what I'm saying, anyone hurt at what I'm saying, Lord, I pray that they go tell their mama or tell somebody who gives a fuck, or go talk to you, Lord, but don't tell me. And as long as we can have that understanding, Lord, I pray that we have a good show today and that there be a greater understanding, and the words of wisdom that come out of my mouth will be disseminated. And I can't think of any Michael Eric Dyson word that will fit with disseminate. Put that on the end of my prayer, Lord. In Jesus' name. And we pray for one more thing. I pray that nobody acts like a hoe. Anybody acting like a hoe, my mods, and you have the right, my mods, to time them niggas out. Don't ban them. Don't ban the hoes. Just time them hoe ass niggas out, please, mods. And with that being said, in the Lord Jesus Christ, good, matchless, merciless, in the name of Kamala's Hindu God, in the name of Buddha, in the name of Allah the Beneficent, in the name of all that's good, beautiful, and great, Lord, we say, yea, man. All right, cool. So now that the prayers have gotten out the way, Now that we've gotten the prayers out the way, we will get to what we got to say. All right. So, again, welcome, chat room. This all started with a Candace Owens tweet. This all started here with a Candace Owens tweet. Gangsta rap was never black culture. It was created by the feds who proliferated with preferred deals to homosexual black men in prison and then turned them into artificial celebrities. The goal was to create false idols, destroy black American values. I will never change my mind on this. First off, let's say this. Candace Owens does not know what black American values are. She's not black American. She's Caribbean. And Caribbean values and black American values are slightly different. Not saying one is better than the other, but value systems are created in response to the environment and circumstance. So growing up in an island where you're the majority, you're going to have a different reaction to circumstance and a different set of values and culture than you are when you grow up in a country where you're under a direct thumb of the most oppressive system on the planet today. So she's trying to go around talking about black culture and how gangster rap was never. And the truth is, gangster rap, in a lot of ways, there's some truth in what she's saying. Like, everything always has a hint of truth in it, but it also takes away from what it truly was. Gangster rap, when we created it, when black Americans created it, it wasn't called gangster rap. Now, once the feds got on, once 93, 94 came, it started to get commercialized. But the roots of so-called gangster rap did not start by the feds. And the roots of gangster rap wasn't gangster at all, at least on the West Coast. It was message music. And that's when Ice Cube came back with this right here. Ice Cube said, we called it reality rap. The industry coined it gangster rap. The fans wanted gangster rap, and that's what they got. The feds didn't write none of my shit. And that's what made me think about, okay, let's go back into the roots of gangster rap. Things that were labeled gangster rap that wasn't gangster rap. Because oftentimes people come to me and talk about how when NWA came in with that gangster rap, that's the common narrative that you hear. Chat room, press the number 1 if you've heard people say and attribute the degradation of music with NWA. Press the number 1 if you've heard that. Is it just me? Chat room, press the number 1 if you've also heard when people blame NWA for bringing in gangster rap. Press the number 1 if you've heard that before. Appreciate the super chat, Kevin Black. Hallelujah. Appreciate that. Press the number 1 if you heard that narrative before. Yeah. And that's the common narrative that you hear. The common narrative that you hear is gangster rap started with NWA, and NWA started in that West Coast is when hip hop started to be destroyed. How many times have you heard that? The West Coast and gangster rap starting with NWA was when hip hop started to be destroyed. I know I've been hearing that, and I've been hearing it for 30 years. And they really did criminalize gangster rap back before we were calling it gangster rap. So that's something that we've all heard before. Okay, so it's not the first. And so you see on the next tweet up here, someone mentioned Schoolie D in '85. And then Cube went back further and talked about Blowfly in 1980. And a lot of people don't know about Blowfly. That song Rap Dirty. This is what Rap Dirty sounded like.
Smoking weed, feeling fine when
I can't play too much.
10-4.
I can't play too much.
Fuck you. 3-4.
That's the music break here.
Find me. She said I got it here, so come on with it. But just make sure you got enough meat to get it. I said my hands are large and my prick is bigger. Just
that's Blowfly 1980. That's out the South, actually. He's from Georgia.
I said ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ah, ooh. I said ah. I said ooh, ah, ooh.
And that's actually considered the first gangster rap song right there. Rap Dirty. And Rap Dirty was more of a parody song. That's what it was considered at the time. But Blowfly, that is the format that later on a lot of your hip hop and your West Coast hip hop, your so-called gangster rap would take on that funk feel. That straight up funk. And hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. And so you see, this goes to further prove my point that I always say about black music. It's a polygenesis of things. There's very few things you can narrow down in one place at one time. Usually, one city may spark something, but right away, it's like a forest fire. It might be a spark. Then them embers will fly somewhere. Next thing you know, boom, the whole country's on fire with something because this is our culture. All other parts of the country need is a notion. That's how you know hip hop is 100% ours. Because the minute New York set off a spark, you got Blowfly in the South in the 80s. You got Too Short in 1980 also rapping. You know what I mean? But really James Brown's the one that set, honestly, if you're going to tell hip hop, James Brown is the one that set off the spark. You know? James Brown he's the one that set the spark, rapping and all, and with his beats and with his rap. That's James Brown. James Brown set the spark. And then New York had a couple parties. And then the West Coast got to doing some things. The South got to doing some things. And then boom, hip-hop becomes a nationwide thing. Hip-hop becomes a nationwide thing. You know? But so let's go back to the hip hop part when it comes to rap music part. When it comes to gangster rap. So I want to set the record straight. Okay, let me see. Super Chat says, Russell Red says, NWA wasn't street gangster rap, as they say. It was Ice-T before NWA. Cool G Rap was also street, yeah, but Schoolie D from the East Coast. You're right, in a lot of ways. But I want to go back to NWA. Was NWA really gangster rap? Was early Ice Cube, early West Coast, NWA, Ice Cube, was it really gangster rap? Or was it message music that white folks was trying to discourage black people from listening to because it might give them a notion to change the reality and the circumstances that we're in? Was it gangster rap? Because today I'm using this topic to needle in on NWA and who early NWA was before Ice Cube left. who early Ice Cube was, who early West Coast hip hop was talking about, because back in these days they were calling it gangster rap. And we gotta ask, was it really gangster or was it revolutionary? Let's talk about it. Let's go to some of the lyrics. When we talk about it, let's go back. Let me change this. Let me give y'all. I want y'all to read along with me on Spotify. We going back to Fuck the Police.
The police coming straight from the underground. A young nigga got it bad cause I'm brown.
Basically, this is the song that people like to ascribe to the beginning of gangster rap, this album. And when you listen to it, listen to what he's talking about. This was literally the conditions of Los Angeles. I was in 1988. I was in LA. I was born. This was when I'm really starting to become aware of things. 1988 was one of my favorite years ever. I missed that year. Everything was good in 1988. Although I was on Slauson and Main Street in the middle of South Central LA when we had the highest murder rate in the country. This is what we were seeing. The police go around fucking with people. You know what I mean? The punk motherfucker with a badge and a gun. Talking about beating on us. Talking about fucking with us because we teenagers. I remember as a child seeing my uncle go through this. You know, to coming home and telling stories to my grandmother about him, you know, getting fucked with by the police. People on the block telling these stories. See, in South Central, this is what they labeled gangster rap, when really it was a beacon. It was a message to the world. This is what we're going through. So you have to understand, by 1988, by the mid 80s, rhythm and blues had already been colonized by white companies. They removed the militancy out of rhythm and blues mid 70s. You had some in the late 70s. By the time you get to 81, 82, all of the rhythm and blues is love music and it's party music. You know, it's Shags and Jerry Curls and a whole bunch of because by then the white paper report, and we're gonna get into this on my next episode on Patreon when we talk about the destruction of black music. Black R&B, funk was taken off the board, disco was taken off the board, rock and roll, metal, that had gone white. They stopped allowing black artists to record under that genre by then. So the genres that we created in the 70s was all colonized by the time we got to the 80s. Music was supposed to be successfully colonized with no thoughts, nothing profound. Rap music was seen as a novelty. See, people see it as a big thing now, but if we're talking about mid 80s, you know, when Run DMC did Rock This Way with, you know, that was the first big crossover song in hip hop, you know, and like that, as far as fusing rock with, but rock was even seen, you know, that was one of those situations where it was like, okay, this is a novelty song, this is a novelty genre, it'll be over with pretty soon. And then the West Coast came out with this message music right here. And you had message music on the East, obviously songs like The Message, Melly Mel, you know, and all them. But again, The Message and that stuff, when it dropped, it was hot. But the mainstream, the people who were in control of music still saw that as a novelty sound. Everybody thought at some point hip hop and rap was going to go away because it wasn't real instruments. It wasn't real music. It was loud. It didn't have harmonies and melodies the way people were used to. So then here we come out the West Coast, and this album basically sells out the trunk before it goes into the mainstream. And it's telling you the reality of what we're seeing in Los Angeles, California. This is what we were seeing in LA at the time. Like, let me show you. We were seeing SWAT. I remember growing up as a child, looking out across the street and seeing these tanks coming through town. See, back then in LA, if somebody in the house was suspected of dealing drugs or whatever, the LAPD used to have this tank that you see right here. And niggas around the rest of the country didn't know that this is what we was living out here on the West Coast. We were under straight martial law under Chief Daryl Gates. We were under straight martial law. And I remember sometimes waking up and like I remember hearing these let me see a SWAT. Let me see if I can get a picture of the SWAT van. Here we go. I remember waking up and in the middle of the night hearing these LAPD SWAT vans coming through. And let me show you right here. These are like UPS trucks. Y'all don't know what it's like. It's in 1987. I'm chilling with my grandmama. You know, we was watching Price is Right and shit. And then you'll see earlier that day, and then at night, you see one of these goddamn things. Well, that wasn't. This is something else. This ain't it. That ain't the LAPD one we saw. Where is it? Here we go. This one, because they look like UPS trucks. You see about 15 cops jump out of this motherfucker, and they be having flashbangs, and all I hear is do 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 do. Everybody get your hands around. And you looking out the window, man. They at Miss Wesley's house again. And then my grandmama, there go Tony, and her son Tony Wayne always into some shit. Why Tony Wayne always into something? Well, I remember getting woken up by this motherfucking van a few times, throwing flashbangs in the house. And then I remember seeing these Rams knock over people's houses, coming to find out they knocked over the wrong goddamn house. They come into 7535 and the criminal is at 7538 and they knocking in 7535. This is the kind of martial law we was under in LA. This was before the riots. The riots would have never happened had people listened to NWA and Straight Outta Compton album. Had the recommendations, had this been seen as a call, had this been seen,
Young nigga on the warpath, and when I finish, it's gonna be a bloodbath.
This wasn't talking about killing wasn't promoting killing other black people. This was talking about the martial law that the city was under and the youth of the time saying, we're not going to take this shit. You can't throw us a Howard Hewitt video and pacify us like you can our parents. That's what was going on in early NWA. You got songs like Gangsta Gangsta. This is another song that allowed them to label it gangster rap.
Damn peachy black gangsters are at it again.
Talking about the gangster life.
Here's a little something about a nigga like me. Never should have been let out the penitentiary.
As Cube was talking about it, you see Ice Cube was so eloquent with his pen game. He's a teenager writing this shit. Early 20s writing this shit right here. And he's talking about the gangster life. And then
Bottle. Do I look like a motherfucking role model?
And it's talking about, he's telling basically,
Role model to a kid looking up to me. Life ain't nothing but bitches and money.
he's telling them that this is what the gangster lifestyle is about. It's talking about how the gangster thinks. It's talking about how he goes through. It's talking about how he lives his life in a gangster ass kind of way. Then he goes in as you get towards it. This is what Cuba do so well of. He would spend the first half of a song talking about what the lifestyle is. And then he's talking about what they did. And then he's talking about, let me get that back towards the end. And he's talking about what's going on in the life. And then talking about,
We didn't get no play from the ladies. With 6 niggas in the car, are you crazy?
talking about at the end of the day, you could do all that stuff, but the ladies ain't gonna really give you no honest play with no 6 niggas in the cars like that. You know what I mean? He's telling you.
Find something else to get into, like some pussy or in fact.
He telling people in the gangster lifestyle that shit is actually kind of whack. Find something else to get get into, like some pussy or something. Get into a women. Get into doing. Go play basketball. But all this banging shit is stupid. He's talking about that. He's talking about, look, at the end of the day, these gangster things. He's talking about what gangsters do. He's talking about the reality of what these people are living. And it's basically telling you that, how the gangster thinks and the mindset of it. And then when you go into further songs, because this is one of those songs you gotta listen to, one of the albums you gotta listen to top to bottom. I want to go to let me see here. Where's the other song I want to go to? You goes into expressing yourself. And also even in Straight Outta Compton.
You are now about to.
These gangs, like Ice Cube, what he would do is, in the early NWA, would talk about the reality of the lifestyle, but then would go around telling you where that lifestyle is going to lead you. They never, here it is, the song Dope Man. Where's Dope Man at? Let's go on the song Dope Man. Because Dope Man was another song that was highly criticized at the time. And he's talking about the Dope Man. How, yeah, he got the 14 karat chains on his neck. The Dope Man got all this shit. But then it's talking about how the Dope Man fucks up your family. How the Dope Man is the one that's making your family sick, making your people sick. And then it's talking about basically when you get towards the end, how the Dope Man, is getting people in the community hooked. It's talking about how the Dope Man is making all this money, but he ain't doing nothing to help his community. He's talking about how the Dope Man is killing your brain. He's talking about all that stuff. Then we get towards the end of the song. Basically, they get a Dope Man a death threat. You think you slick? You sold my sister. You sold crack to my sisters. Now she's sick. But if she happens to die because of your drug, I'm putting your culo in a 38 slug. Basically, I'm putting a slug to your brain. So he's talking about, on one hand, yeah, if you only listen to half of the song, it sounds as if he's glorifying the Dope Man. But in the song, he's also telling you what that lifestyle leads to and what it's going to get you to. And I remember when all this shit dropped, they were saying, is hip-hop destroying the lives of America? Is hip-hop destroying things? And it was like, hell no, hip-hop ain't destroying shit. This was already going on. West Coast gangster rap ain't destroying a motherfucking thing. This is what we were seeing. This is what we were seeing on the streets. This is what we were seeing every day. This was reality rap. This was message music. The industry, and I'm not talking about later in the 90s. I'm talking about in 1988. I remember watching ABC Nightline and them saying it's gangster rap destroying America, when at the end of the day, all these things were already in America. All these things were already here. Crack had been around for at least at least a decade. If not a full decade, at least 7 or 8 years before NWA. I remember my father talking to me about when the gang thing started. It was around the time that I was born. Because my dad was in the streets. My dad talked to me about how, like, when he got out the streets in the late 70s, part of the reason why he got out, because niggas started carrying guns. And this is back when people was listening. This is back when people was listening to Stevie Wonder. I mean, this is back when Earth, Wind & Fire was out at their top. Nigga, when Earth, Wind & Fire was making some of the highest spiritual music of all time, niggas was doing drive-bys in South Central. The conditions changed when that crack was brought in. The conditions changed when those jobs were taken away. See, in South Central at the time, this is what we're dealing with. This is what let's go to the maps. Then we're going to go into some more lyrics. We're going to do some more lyrical breakdowns. But let's go into the maps real quick. Y'all know I like going to the maps. Let's go to the maps and the booms and the baps. So this is South Central, where all this so-called gangster rap is happening, all right? When you come over here, you see this area, you see right here, this is Compton. Y'all see my cursor? Yeah, so you see Compton right here highlighted. This is Watts. This South Central. I was living up in this area at the time. At the time, I was living up around here. I was up in this area at the time, Slauson. But you see over here, in the 60s and the 70s, these were all jobs for Black America. This is where Black America. This is what got Black America to move to LA. You got your meat packing area over here, your food services companies, furniture companies. You got the train yards over here. This is what got Black people. These were all Black jobs back in the 60s and the 70s. And then if you come over here into Firestone, this is Watts. Right here. Where is this Firestone? Where's Firestone Boulevard? It's Alameda. Yeah, so here we are. Santa Fe, Atlantic. Yes, over here off Firestone Boulevard, this is where Firestone made all of its tires around the world. Every Firestone tire was made over here. These were all Black jobs in the 60s and the 50s and the 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s, into the 70s. All these were jobs. This employed Black LA, this whole area right here. And so as the 70s went along, these jobs started leaving one by one and going over to China and other places. And then along with these jobs, these factories getting shut down, a lot of your car factories were over here. Like down here in Dominguez and shit, this is where Honda used to design all of his shit. It used to be a bunch of car factories down here, and they made vital parts for cars here in LA. The car industry was huge out here. And this is where all your Black jobs were at the time. This is where your Black jobs were. This is why so many Black people live in Compton. They all had jobs over here. All that stuff gets taken away. And this whole economy that Black LA survived off of had gotten taken away, moved out, and then for the jobs that remained, as the 80s started going along, they started giving those jobs to Mexicans as the 80s went along and into the 90s. So one by one, if the whole job didn't leave, the Black people would get fired and Mexicans will replace them at the time, the illegal at the time, and undercut the wages of this whole area. So during that same time, this was all going on, the government dropping crack in, as we in cocaine and all in freebase all throughout the late 70s into the 80s. It was heroin in the 70s and the 60s. But as the late 70s came, 80s, it became crack. So what happens when you have all of these jobs that used to be available to us that are now not available to us? What is the next generation going to do? They're going to deal drugs. Well, at the same time, you have the LAPD and the LA County Sheriffs. You see the Imperial Courts right here and the Nickerson Gardens and all this stuff, King Drew Hospital. There are no more jobs over here, but it's a bunch of crack. What are the young people going to do? You know, so this is what's going on. The police are using these train lines to drop off guns. And so in 1988, LA murder rate really exploded. So this is what Ice Cube and them are seeing over here in Compton. Ice Cube himself, he lived over here closer to Inglewood. He lived over here off Van Wyck and Imperial. Ice Cube was more so over here. Is Van Ness? Where's Van Wyck? Ice Cube was raised over here. Here's Van Wyck Street. So Ice Cube was raised in this area. I don't know these. I'm not gonna point out the exact house because I ain't know. But Ice Cube was raised in over here on this block at the time, and this one gets people confused about L.A. Because L.A. we got green grass. It's motherfucking beautiful, but you don't know. You'll be walking right past this green grass, and some nigga come out, nigga, where the fuck you from? You'll see one car pull out here, one car pull out here, and have your bitch ass trapped right in the middle. Nigga, where you going? And here you are coming from the East Coast somewhere thinking that all this beautiful grass is making it, is going to get you a pass. No sirree. No sirree. Not in L.A. And then you got over here the Watts. You got over here in Magic Johnson Park. Mind you, we have environmental racism going on because this park right here, Magic Johnson Park, this used to be an oil field. And to this day, in 2024, there's oil underneath this ground. And these people in this neighborhood are exposed to like levels of oil air pollution and contamination upwards of 30,000 times higher than the recommended levels. That's what a lot of these parks in South Central are. They're brownfields. This is a brownfield. This is a brownfield. Where you see these brownfields, there's oil underneath those grounds because LA is an oil town. Like this is an oil town. So here in South Central and Compton, it's a lot of oil underneath this shit. So you also have environmental racism going on, making these niggas fucking crazy because you bringing in oil and you breathing in oil all goddamn day. And so this is the famous Watts people be talking about. You know, don't go to Magic Johnson Park. And so the music of the so-called gangster rap is built out of this environment. Here you go again. You thinking green grass, it's all good. No, it's 16 killers just on this one block. And part of the reason why they're killing is because of the lead that's in the paint. Because over here, when the Nickerson Gardens got when the Jordan Downs got knocked down a couple years ago, they found all kinds of here you go, Nickerson Gardens right here. You see the Jordan Downs. When they knocked a lot of these Jordan Downs projects down, they found lead in the paint and lead in the water that was some upwards of over 1,000 times higher than the recommended level. You got the conditions of what's going on in Watts, along with lead-based paint and brownfields. And also, you see this iron metal company? This iron metal company, just in the last year, black folks have been trying to get this shut down since the 70s. And they just 2 years ago came out and said, yeah, the air pollution in this area is well over like 10,000 times the healthy levels. So you got black kids here at Jordan High School. And mind you, this is where Charles Mingus, Hard Bop, Patrice Rushen went here. A lot of your great West Coast musicians went here to Jordan High School. A lot of your great musicianship comes out of this school. But look at this. They got lead-based paint here in the Jordan Downs and a metal company and this tent company that's giving out unhealthy air pollutants way higher than the recommended levels, along with these brownfields that are still over here and oil underneath the ground. So these are the conditions of 1980s LA. This is the conditions of 1980s LA. Remember, like I always say, music is like I always tell y'all, music is a sonic interpretation of your environment. Music is a sonic interpretation of your environment. So what you see going on around you, even the things you don't see with your two eyes, if you're a musician, if you're an artist, and all of my artists out there know, even what you can't put a book to, if you're a creative person, you feel it. You feel it in the hairs on your arms. You can just feel you when you're around stuff. And if you're a writer, you know you write based on your environment and what you feel. If you one of those people who write from your heart, I ain't talking about you copycat niggas. You niggas write off what you heard another nigga say. I'm talking about original niggas, people who write and express creatively from the heart. So this is what we're dealing with in LA at the time. So what you get is music that's a message that the white media is destroying because they don't want you to listen to that. They don't want you to listen to that. So then when you go further back into our to quote unquote gangster rap, the Ice Cube breaks away from NWA and he goes on his own. And he released songs like this. And this is what they were calling gangster rap. Y'all remember this song, Who's the Mac?
One of these motherfuckers different.
Can't play it all the way. But on Patreon, I did do a breakdown of Ice Cube. I'm gonna put that up on my Patreon on the militancy within my Ice Cube's music. Oh, come on. Y'all don't want to put the lyrics up of this song? Oh, y'all tripping. Let me see if I can Google the lyrics of Who's the Mac so I can show y'all what Ice Cube's talking about. Who's the Mac? Here we go. Here we go. I found the lyrics. So they were calling this gangster rap because he's talking about who's the Mac. Basically, who's the real pimp? Who's really the problem in society?
Fucked up Lincoln, leaning to the side so it looks like he's sinking.
Telling you, this is street knowledge. This is when Ice Cube was putting out, this is when they were calling gangster rap, but it was really message music, street knowledge. Telling the world who's the Mac. Talking about the pimps, talking about the person that's going around, the fool that want to pump your gas, give you a side story and you give him cash. Is he macking on you? Is it the nigga in the club in the hot tub? Just life music. Basically equating the pimp to the preacher, to the hustler on the street, to the nigga in the club trying to get in the woman's drawers. Ice Cube is giving women especially, but people, a look at society and saying, look, all these motherfuckers is corrupt. But all people could do was look at what Ice Cube, the Jerry curl he was in, and the gangster look. See, one thing that made Ice Cube so smart with his marketing was to have that gangster look, to have that look to get people to pay attention. But once you paid attention, you heard all of the substance that was behind the lyrics. And then when you get to 1990, 1991, you had the fight between Ice Cube and NWA. Again, is this gangster music or is it message music? Now, when Ice Cube left NWA, NWA did start going more into the buffoonish style over just hyping up the gangster lifestyle. They did. It became less conscious. But 100 Miles and Running was something that was really picked up by them folks. And Ice Cube, even though 100 Miles and Running sold a lot of records, who won between 100 Miles and Running and Ice Cube and Death Certificate? Ice Cube won that battle when Ice Cube dropped No Vaseline that ended NWA. But when you go back to the Death Certificate album, if you ask me, Death Certificate, No Vaseline, to me, that's the worst song on the album. This album, Death Certificate, and for those of you who are young, listen to me, especially if you're under 30. If you're under 30, listen to me, or if you weren't paying attention to West Coast hip hop, listen to me. Listen to me close if you weren't paying attention to West Coast hip hop and during this time. This album, No Vaseline, I mean, not Vaseline, America's Most Wanted. And please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And thank you for I just asked somebody to join the Patreon. Thank you for joining the Patreon. And if you want to join the Patreon, the link is is right here, pinned to the top. For those of you who want to join Patreon. We go deeper on Patreon where I get to play music and all the other shit. And I just had okay, Jarrell GTV. Appreciate you for joining Patreon. Appreciate that. So anyway, so let's break this down. This is in the early 90s. This is when Luke and all of them, and now the whole explicit certification thing is coming up. You got C. Dolores Tucker and Jesse Jackson fighting against gangster rap. And the media is labeling it gangster this, gangster that. And so at the time, I'm 9, 10 years old. And I'm my mother's son, at the time. And my mom didn't really listen to music. But my dad was, he's into the 70s. My dad's into Smokey Robinson. My dad's listening. The new music my dad listened to at this point is Michael Jackson's Bad album. But my dad, for the most part, his was listening to Cameo, Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, Part-Time Lover. My dad and my parents, they on that trip. So we're not really listening to rap in the household. My uncle's listening to it. My big brother is listening to it, but he would play his music kind of real quiet so my mom wouldn't hear it. And so I'm watching the news and going to church, and I'm believing what they're saying about gangster rap, because although this music is out at the time, I'm not all the way into it yet. This album is what got me really into rap. I wasn't really into music that much anyway before I turned 10. I really dove into music when I was like 13, 14. But when I was 10, I would just watch what was on TV. I would pay attention, but I'm only listening to what my sister's listening to, my dad's listening to, my mama listening to gospel, my mama listening to Helen Baylor. We're lifting up the name of Jesus. My mama listening to that. My mama listening to Denise Williams gospel, and my dad listening to I don't care what they think about me, and my sister listening to Color Me Bad and goddamn Janet Jackson. And so I only listen to hip hop when I'm with my uncle. My uncle listening to Too Short and NWA, but I wasn't around my uncle a whole lot. And my brother, he was still with his mom at that point. He wasn't living with us yet. And so this album here is what got me into rap. And so when I was listening to it, I was like, this ain't what they told me on the news. The news told me this was all bad. The news was telling me, don't listen to this because it's the reason why. Because as a kid, I'm 10 years old. I'm walking outside and seeing gunshots. By the time I'm 10, my elementary school had already gotten shot up twice. That's why till this day I've always been desensitized to school shootings, because to me, I was in elementary school that got shot up. Nigga, we was right there at BPS hood. One of our people at the school, they was a Crip, and I lived in my school was in a blood neighborhood. And I remember one time they shot the school up looking for him. Another time, like one of my friends had to push my other homeboy down because they did a drive. When we would be on the yard at school in elementary school, we had to worry about drive-bys. That's the LA that we in. But I'm listening to the radio telling me that the rap is the reason why all this stuff is going on. And I'm like, I'm a kid. So I'm halfway believing it. I'm a little naive. How can you not be naive at 8? So this is the reality that we're living in South Central LA at the time. All right. And then I'm going to play this song with this music by Ice Cube, because this was the elementary school I was at right here. I was right here at the Coliseum Elementary. We will be on, this is my elementary school. Right here. We'll be on the yard playing. On this yard. The yard didn't look like this back then. You see this beautiful, pretty neighborhood. My man Clifford lived right there. You see these apartments wasn't shit. And the Jungles is right here. If you ever hear the Jungles, there go the Jungles right there. Nigga, we would be on the yard playing basketball, and at least 3 different times in my elementary school, there's a car coming down the street. Tech 9s and AKs and shit, lighting my school up while we're at recess. Nigga, my elementary school got lit up at recess at least twice. Think 3 times. So this is the environment we're living in, but I'm hearing the radio tell me and the news tell me it's the gangster rap. So this is my lived experience I'm talking about right here. So then this album dropped right before Boys in the Hood. And then he came out with Summer Vacation.
This is the final boarding call for flight 12.
This song dropped. And like Ice Cube always poetically does, talking about drugs, talking about
Police looking at niggas through a microscope. In LA, everybody and their mama sells dope.
So it sounds as if he's glorifying the gangster lifestyle, the drug dealing lifestyle. So then he goes in and he's talking about
See you, Bone, and let's clear these niggas out.
he's talking about how the drug dealers set up shop in their neighborhoods. And how at one point
Tony Montana, not a shit's like a
talking about the war of gang violence, how gang violence goes through from city to city, establishing drug territories. So I remember as a child, the media taking these lyrics and twisting them to make it seem as if Ice Cube was glorifying the gangster lifestyle. And then
LA ain't all surfing, son, but we ain't.
so he going around talking about the feuds going on, brings up the Hatfields and McCoys. Cube always did a great job of bringing in white folks, talking about their debauchery when equate get to black debauchery.
The Hatfields and McCoys, not a
And so he's talking about that. But then as he gets towards the end of the song, he's talking about
got to deal with the Crips and the Bloods by hand.
talking about the people you're going to have to deal with. And then as he gets to the end of the song, he says, you're going to get locked up.
Parole probation. Now this is a young man's summer vacation.
He tells you at the end of the song, your summer vacation started out sweet. It started out good. You got the hoes, you got the clothes, you got the money. But now look what you got. No parole or probation. Now this is a young man's summer vacation. No chance for rehabilitation, because look
at the motherfucking years that I'm facing.
Look at the years that you facing. I'm gonna end it like this because you know what's up. My life is fucked. You dig what I'm saying? This is what he was talking about. You did all that shit, and then at 5 in the morning,
I catch a nigga when he's yawning. Put his clock to my chest as I pause. Went to jail in my motherfucking drawers trying to give me 57 years.
this is what he's telling you where it goes. He's telling you he wrote the song to tell you and started out good. Summer vacation. It sounds good. It sounds great. But then the police came, the narcs came and busted my door down. What did I say earlier? What did we see here in LA during that time? When he's talking about the narcs busting the door down, what was we seeing in LA at that time? This is what we were seeing in LA. This is what he was talking about, the narcs busting the door down 5 in the morning, trying to catch a nigga in his drawers.
Fool must be sparking.
Trying to give me 57 years.
Talking about a double life plea bargain.
Talking about a double life plea bargain. He's telling you that lifestyle is going to lead to a double life plea bargain. You ain't got no shot, homeboy. And the media was saying this is destroying the black community. He had music like this.
Say, look at this.
Bird in the hand. Look at these lyrics.
Fresh out of school cause I was a high school grad. Got to get a job cause I was a high school dad.
Remember, Kendrick used those lyrics later on in Mad City. Fresh out of school because I was a high school grad. He's talking about the reality. Gotta get a job because I was a high school dad. I wish I got paid by rapping, but that's not likely. So here's my application. Passed it to the man at AT&T because when I was in school, I got the AEE. He's talking about the black man.
Because when I was in school, I got the AEE.
This was the exemplary student. The student that did it the right way, that went to school, applied for the job. I got the AEE, but I couldn't go to SC.
SC for this youngster. I didn't have no money, so now I gotta punch the clock.
Didn't have the money to go to SC. So now I gotta punch the clock like a slave and be a half a man. Nigga, this is black empowerment. And I gotta hear motherfuckers talk about how the West Coast destroyed hip hop with gangster rap. This was what you niggas should have been listening to the whole goddamn time. But
he says there's no room for the African. Always knew that I would crack G's.
Whitey is saying there's no room for the African, for the black man. So now I go to McDonald's and serve you food that might give you cancer because my son doesn't take no for an answer. Now I gotta pay taxes. That they never give you back. What about diapers, bottles, and Similac? Do I have to sell me a whole lot of crack?
Me a whole lot of crack for decent shelter and clothes on my back.
He's not glorifying crack, but he's talking about the quagmire, the young black man who now has a child is stuck with. Do I go flip burgers at McDonald's? And then at the time, you had Jesse Jackson and this. I remember Operation Push from Jesse Jackson. Did he say?
Should I just wait for help from Bush or Jesse Jackson and Operation Push?
Should I just wait for help from President Bush or Jesse Jackson and Operation Push? If you ask me, the whole thing needs a dush. A Massingale, what the hell, crack a sale in your neighborhood? To the corner house
bitches, Miss Parker, Little Joe, and Todd Bridges.
So he said, you know what? I'm either going to work at McDonald's and be half a man, get paid less than what I'm worth, or do I cop me a bird?
Me a bird, better known as a kilo. Now everybody know I went from Poe
to a nigga that got dough. And he's talking about everything is cool, you know? But now you got the feds against me because I couldn't follow the plan of the presidency. I'll never get love again.
Blacks are too fucking broke to be Republican.
But blacks are too fucking broke to be Republican. I was cool until I stopped filling out my W-2. But now senators are getting high. But I'm not cool because I'm not filling out my W-2. But senators are getting high off the shit that I'm selling. So now you got a pep talk. But sorry,
this is our only room to walk.
So he's talking about the plight of the black man. And y'all heard that flip that he got? It's fun, crazy how the story of the black man never changes. Because on this song by BB King, this how I show you this how you know hip hop is the blues. Because on Chains and Things, you see a lot of whole thing going on about
and a slave driving boss.
It's talking about working the job and being a slave as a black man. This is what BB King is talking about. So this is an earlier rendition of what Cube was talking about. And listen to this breakdown right here. How he used that Ice Cube sampled this part of the song. Heard that? Heard that? How Cube sampled this part of the song to make the other song, but the message of the song is the same. It's a choice between it's the oppression and what the issues that black men have to deal with. BB King, whose birthday was recently, by the way, happy birthday, BB King. He tried to tell America back in the 60s with chains and things. And then he came with that musical breakdown. Y'all didn't listen to us. Y'all didn't listen to us. And so Cube came with an updated version of that. When he gave us Bird in the Hand.
Say, look at this.
He gave us the same beat with the same message, but now this message is more urgent.
Gotta serve your food that might give you cancer, cause my son doesn't take no fault.
See how we are as black people? The common bond between blues and hip hop, and how hip hop is a more aggressive rap version of the blues. I'm not fucking with y'all when I tell y'all the history behind black music. I'm not just playing with you people that's going around trying to take our music and say it's something that it's not. This is all, the hip hop is updated Black American blues. And this is hip hop before white people got a hold of it. And this is what we was talking about in our music. But while we were talking about this in our music in 1991, when this shit dropped, they sabotaged this album. They called it anti-Semitic. They said it's dangerous. And this album was sabotaged by the industry. Because Ice Cube had a big old hit with America's Most Wanted. They did not want this to be a hit. So they was on ABC Nightly News. They was on Good Morning America. And they were calling this music that was talking about what we were going through as black people, gangster rap. And now 30 years later, we still got to deal with people saying, well, the West Coast and that gangster rap. No, this is what the West Coast gave you. You go to songs like this, like I Want to Kill Sam.
The army is the only way out for you.
This song is talking about the draft and the IRS and talking about the Uncle Sam.
I want to kill him because he tried to play me like a trick, but you see, I'm the wrong nigga to fuck with.
He's talking about how when he went through it.
Here's why I want to kill the punk, because he tried to take a motherfucking chunk of the funk.
This is what he talked about when he's talking about how he came in like he was down, like he was cool. And then once he got in my house,
gave up a little dap, then turned around and pulled out a gat.
He came in my house like he was cool, gave up a little dap, and pulled out the gat. I said, please don't kill my mother, so he raped her. Tied me up, took me outside. I was thrown in the big truck, packed like sardines full of niggas who fell for the same scheme. He's basically talking about the African slave trade, but updated it into modern terms on why he wants to kill Uncle Sam. And then he goes in and talking about
took us to a place that made us work all day and we couldn't have shit to say.
Broke up
the families forever. And to this day, black folks can't stick together.
This is message music, nigga. But they want to tell everybody else that, oh, LA was on some gangster shit. He's telling you how they broke us up as a people.
You can burn your cross while I burn your flag. Try to give me the HIV.
This is before, this is like right around time Magic had, this came out in December 91. So this is before Magic had even announced that he had AIDS. Because Magic announced he had AIDS. The Lakers went to the finals June 91. Lakers Bulls was June 91. Sedell 3 came to the Lakers September 1991. Magic had just said he had AIDS. He had just announced that he had AIDS a few months before, or HIV. So he's talking about how they give us that shit. Then he turned around and said,
you're giving dope to my people, chump. Just wait till we get over that hump.
You're giving dope to my people, chump. Just wait till we get over that hump. Cause you
your ass is grass, cause I'm a blast, can't bury rap like you bury jazz.
This, when I found out, this song here is what made me conscious that they buried jazz. I didn't know black jazz was black when I was 10. Cause I saw nothing but white people playing it. When I heard this song, that's what made me like, oh yeah. That's when I got more interested, like, huh, okay. Then he said, we stop
being whores, stop doing floors. So bitch, you can fight your own wars.
This is right, this was 91, right as we're going into Operation Iraqi Freedom, the Iraq War. He's saying, fuck you, nigga, you can fight your own goddamn wars. but they were calling this music that's bad for black people in the media. I'm giving you guys a real-time 1991, 1992 example of the propaganda versus the reality. This is before Death Row, this before Snoop, this before all that, this before Death Row. Death Row comes out next year. Death Row's not out yet. Songs like Horny Little Devil.
Prince of
He's telling you.
arch enemy, father of evil, hellborn.
He's talking about white men.
Looking at my girlfriend's black skin. You want to jump in, but she don't like white men. So
Flat out giving a warning to white men that's talking shit about black women and want to cosplay with black women and use black women for fetishes. Ice Cube's talking about in 1991, white men using black women for fetishes.
she ain't with the pale face. Cause y'all fuck at a snail's pace. And you might
And brought the jokes in with it. Mr. Sexual Harassment.
Asking for a blowing when the answer is fuck no.
Talking about how crazy they are. Giving black women a message on how these dudes operate.
Horny little devil must be a F-A-G. Trying to fuck me on my land and my manhood. Had me broke eating spam and can't.
This is what we was talking about in our music.
Little devil can't fuck me on my pay. Cause horny little devil true niggas ain't gay. And you can't play with my yo-yo and definite.
Talking about that. And they were talking about how homophobic this album was. And then he talked about, because what we was going through at the time, we weren't just dealing with it with white folks, we was dealing with them too.
Didn't let it nap up. Go down to the corner store and beat the jap up. Clean.
This is before the riots. I always tell people, if you want to know why the LA riots happened, you got to go back and listen to this album. Because he's talking about how y'all need to clean this shit about my city.
Crap up out my city. Not a whole block look shitty.
Talking about how the Japanese store owners at the time in the late 80s was buying out the hood and fucking things up with bad stuff. Message music. And at the time, they're telling you this is gangster music.
Every time I want to go get a fucking boot.
Look at this. Talking about the Korean store owners also. And he's telling you.
Follow me up and down your market. All your little chop suey ass to be a target of the nationwide boycott.
Juice with the people. That's what your boy got.
Pay respect to the black fist, or we'll burn your storm right down to a crisp.
Respect black people or we gonna burn your shit down. What happened 6 months later? No, 5 months later. LA riots. 5 months after this. The message music.
Cause you can't turn the ghetto into black Korea.
You can't turn the ghetto into black Korea no matter how much shit you try to buy. And this right here, I'm gonna go through a few more songs. Because he had the deaf side. Remember on this album, he had the deaf side and the life side also. The deaf side was the front side, talking about the deaf style. These lifestyles are going to lead you to death. Steady mobbing, look who's burning. That's about fucking without a condom. You know, this is going to give you the death. And then they flipped it on the other side, on the birth side, and the life side. The second half of the album is the life side, what's going to keep us living as black people. Then you had this song right here that predicted where hip hop is right now.
They hate to see a young nigga rich, but I refuse to switch.
He said, I refuse to switch even though, because I can't move to the snow. Because soon as y'all niggas get some dough, what happens?
You want to put a white bitch on your elbow. Moving out your...
Whoo, nigga, what? Y'all was, they was really fucking with the West back then, trying to say we ruining music. This is when they were this is the time that they were saying the West Coast was ruining music. And let's be very clear. Ice Cube was the hottest nigga on the block at this point. There was nobody hotter than Ice Cube. The streets chose Ice Cube. Okay? MC Hammer was the most pop. MC Hammer had crossed over into pop. And MC Hammer was rap's first true pop crossover artist. With Can't Touch This, which is another thing the West Coast don't get great credit for, the first true crossover pop artist being MC Hammer. But this was the hottest shit out of LA. This is what the streets chose. This is what the streets chose. But what was Ice Cube saying about the rest of these rapping ass niggas?
But you wanna be white and corny.
Living way out. Nigga, go home. Spray paint it on your house. Listen to this line right here.
Trying to be white or a Jew, but ask yourself, who are they to be equal to?
That's self-pride music, nigga. That ain't gangster rap. And what do we have right now in hip-hop? A whole bunch of niggas trying to be white or a Jew, but they never ask themselves, who are they to be equal to? Stop being
a Uncle Tom, you little sellout. House nigga scum.
Give back to the place.
Something back to the place where you made it from.
Before you end up broke. Fuck around and get your ghetto pass revoked. That's what was in our music. He was telling y'all what is the state of hip hop and where it's gonna end up. He had songs like Doing Dumb Shit. When I'm gonna go to Us. And this song was a forensic analysis of the black community.
Where the fuck is that little boy at? Stanley, bring your ass here.
Questioning how we act as a people.
Could you tell me who unleashed our animal instinct? And the white man sitting there tickle pink?
Can you tell us who unleashed our animal instinct? And the white man sitting there tickle pink, laughing at us on the avenue, busting caps at each other after having brew. We can't enjoy ourselves, too busy jealous of each other's wealth. But coming up is just in me.
The black community is full of envy.
But the black community is full of envy. He talked about them and talked about who the enemy is, but then Ice Cube ended this album talking about the enemy within. The black people, the people within the black community that are full of envy.
Too much backstabbing. While I look out the window, I see all the Japs grabbing.
Too much backstabbing while I look about the window and all I see is the Japs grabbing. Every decent lot in my neighborhood, every vacant lot in my neighborhood, build a store and sell their goods. To the county recips, you know us po niggas, nappy hair and big lips. 4 or 5 babies on your crotch, but you still expect Uncle Sam to help us out. We ain't nothing but Porsche monkeys to the average bigot, redneck honky.
Yes, ain't coming up is a must, but before we can come up, take a look at us.
Coming up is a must, but this was before they started poisoning hip hop with that fuck boy, I got more money than you hoes in clothes era. You say we must come up, but before we come up, we have to take a look at us. And look at what he says. This drop in the media sabotaged this album, and look at what he was saying.
And all y'all dope dealers, you as bad as the police, cause you kill us.
The dope dealers, you as bad as the police, cause you kill us. You got rich when you started slanging dope, but you ain't built us a supermarket, so we can spend our money with the blacks. Too busy buying gold and Cadillacs. Doing with your money, raising what the Caucasians did.
Us like the Caucasians did. For 400 years, I got 400 tears for 400 peers.
Puffy, Jay-Z. Ice Cube told us these niggas is coming. You as bad as the police because you kill us. Too busy buying gold and Cadillacs and exploiting us like the Caucasians did for 400 years. I got 400 tears for 400 peers that died last year from gang-related crimes. That's why I got gang-related rhymes. But when I do a show to kick some facts, us black folks don't know how to act. Sometimes I believe the hype, man.
We mess it up ourselves and blame the white man. But don't
mess it up ourselves for ourselves and blame the white man. But don't point the finger, you jigaboo.
take a look at yourself, you dumb nigga, you.
Take a look at yourself, you dumb nigga, you. Pretty, and look at what he says. Look at what Ice Cube says what's going to happen if we don't take a look at us. What did he says? What did he say?
He's so hip hop won't be so nice, no Ice Cube, just vanilla ice.
Is that not what we have now 30 years later? It ain't no more Ice Cubes out there. But it's a whole lot of vanilla ices. And y'all gonna sit, scream, and cuss, but there's no one to blame but us. Did this not happen? Nigga, I'm gonna stand up for my West Coast. Not to say that we all perfect, but this is what we was listening to when they were labeling us gangster rap. When the media was telling you not to listen to this, Ice Cube gave you niggas a warning. And then he told you where hip hop was gonna end up.
Us will always sing the blues, cause all we care about is hairstyles and tennis shoes.
Then he goes into us within our family. But if you pushed on mine, if you step on mine, you push a button, cause I'll beat you down like it ain't nothing. Just like a beast, but I'm the first nigga to holler out peace. I beat my wife and children to a pulp when I get drunk and smoke dope. Got a bad heart condition, still eat hog maws and chitlins. Bet my money on the dice and the horses. Jobless, so I'm a hope for the armed forces. Go to church, but they tease us.
Church, but they tease us with a picture of a blue-eyed Jesus.
You see this? Talking about child support.
In jail cause I can't pay the mother.
Because you can't pay the mother. Held back in life because I'm a color. Now this is just a little summary of us, but y'all think it's dumb of me to put a mirror to your face, but trust. Nobody gives a fuck about us. What are we talking about here? And this is what the streets chose. The streets chose Ice Cube over NWA. But because we live in such a stupid ass population, what song got the most plays? No Vaseline. And it is. This is the greatest diss song of all time. It is. But pay attention. Us as Americans, as people, as humans, we all have a choice in what we listen to, don't we? Especially now, in the days of Spotify. The diss song, where he's going at it after his old crew, when he's going at other black men over a difference of opinion, that all of these brothers ended up settling their beef before they all died. Cube settled his beef with Dre and Easy. Easy and Dre settled all these dudes settled their beef not too much far after. And look at even within the song, you let her juke. It's a case of divide and conquer, cause you let her juke. Break up my crew. Even in the song, he's telling you this whole issue we're in isn't because of us. This is a case of divide and conquer. Ice Cube gave us so much game. But look at the spins. 214 million spins for No Vaseline. 1.8 million spins for us. 3.4 million spins for True to the Game. The songs with the message, 6 million streams for Bird in the Hand. Steady Mobbin', 11 million streams. Steady Mobbin', this was the breakout hit for the album.
Damn, the bigger.
This was the song that he broke out the album to. This was the radio release.
Every chance we get, we hitting up the roads, coming up short of the green guys, and I might start slinging bean
pies. Niggas talking about everyday life in the hood. But look at the choices America makes. And they'll blame gangster rap. Y'all go around saying gangster rap killed off hip hop. But when we talk about the meats and the vegetables of the music that was giving you some substance to live by, you got 3 million streams versus 214 million streams. So you ask yourself, is it the music or is it what you niggas, is it what people's proclivities are? This is what was going on. Now, a year later, the Chronic dropped. And now when the Chronic came in, this is when we started seeing the commercialization of gangster rap. But still, within this album, songs like Little Ghetto Boy, where it's talking to you about, it was still consciousness on this album.
Quit paying motherfuckers for Jerry girls. Quit paying motherfuckers for crimes. Save your money. Start your own business.
See? We get the intro into the studio gangsterism, but it's still messages within the music. But Ice Cube was still going. Even though that dropped, Ice Cube was still the hottest nigga on the block. And he came up, you know how we do it, just straight up good music for the people. But then Cube also came with this one here. This is one of my favorite Ice Cube songs right here.
Give me a black goddess sister, I can't resist her.
They was really mad at Cube for this.
No stringy haired, blonde haired, blue eyed, pale skinned, bottom white cave bitch.
Remember this?
He's back right, bitch. I don't play that. Just because I got on my LA hat.
Remember this part?
So fuck you, bitch, and your copper tone. Stringy hair, no derriere.
Frontin' and faking with your silicone pair. Do I want to fuck? Not hardly. It's kind of like Barbie fucking Bob Marley. It ain't gonna happen. I keep rapping. Fuck Tennille. See, I'm the captain of this ship, and I'm true to the game. Y'all all look the same. Standing by my backstage door, hoping that I'll switch.
Spread out your little cave, bitch.
Spread out, you little cave bitch. Why every time we get famous, you want to play us like Andy and Amos? The devil sent you to try to tame us.
You can't tame me with no bitch named Amy.
But you can't tame me with no bitch named Amy. Looking for the dark meat. Behold, I ain't trying to go out like Barkley. Cube was telling y'all niggas 30 years ago about Charles Barkley. And this is 1994. This is 1 year removed from Charles Barkley going to the finals with the Phoenix Suns in 1993. This is the year like Barkley was on top of shit. This was when Barkley won MVP. He was on top of the game. And Ice Cube was telling y'all back then, long before Inside the NBA, long before Twitter.
Oh, I ain't trying to go out like Barkley.
Because every time I turn on the TV,
See several brothers with she-devils.
I see several brothers with she-devils smiling because you out on a date. But sooner or later, the bitch will yell rape. Soon as the daddy finds out you a jigaboo, he'll kill like he did Emmett Till. He tried to kick base, but the bitch probably threw it in his face. Sergeant Bell ain't nothing but a trick. Nasty as hell. Stanky little cave bitch.
Break it down. Bitches have no clutch and no chest. White bitches have no clutch and no chest.
Yeah.
Don't think that I hate you because I won't date you. Bitch, I gotta stay true.
Don't think I hate you because I won't date you. I gotta stay true. You could be a fan, but don't expand and try to get my dick in your hand. You better run to the minute, man. Pale as snow. So act like you know. Because if I slap it, flip it, and rub it like that, it gotta be black. Plus your ass is too flat. I need a butt big enough that can clap. Rat-a-tat-tat. You can't get mine, ho. I'd rather fuck an albino. At least I know she's coming from the Nubian, not the Ku Klux Klan that you be in. And I don't give a fuck if your family is rich.
You're still a little cake, bitch.
That's what we was getting out of so-called gangster rap. That's what the people chose. But like I've preached before, and this will come later in my Destruction of Black Music series. When we get to 92, 93, that's when the corporate entities get its full grips on black music and on hip hop. It had gotten its full grips on R&B a decade prior. But 93 is when it got its full grips on black music. And it changed the music from those empowering, uplifting black lyrics for black music to the shit that we have now. But the point that I'm making to you is this. Rap music, quote unquote, gangster rap, West Coast rap started out as message music, street knowledge, music for the people to keep you aware of what's going on. And we as black people in the early 90s, Ice Cube was the hottest thing on the block. Yes, in 92, Ice Cube was hotter than Tupac. Ice Cube was hotter than Dr. Dre, even though Dr. Dre had all those hits with NWA. Ice Cube was hotter than NWA. Ice Cube, you know, was the hottest thing that we had that the streets chose. That's what Black America chose. Black America chose those lyrics. But while Black America had chosen that, the media the whole time was saying this is gangster rap, gangster rap. The whole time media was calling that music gangster rap. Those lyrics I just went through the last hour is what was really getting played on the streets. So I wanted to give you a real deal of what was going on what's been going on, and what's really going on when people want to talk about gangster rap this and gangster rap that. They were labeling something gangster rap that wasn't gangster at all. It was revolutionary rap. It was message music. It was street knowledge. And those beats and those sounds that was used in that street knowledge music, when them people got control of the record labels, they poisoned it, and then they started bringing in the studio gangster and started promoting that sound as you get into 93, 94, 95, and moving on forward. But before 93, before 92, 93, that's not what was getting pushed. What was getting pushed was message music, knowledge for the people, by the people, to the people. That's what was getting pushed. That's what we was on, even though it was getting labeled gangster rap. All right? I need y'all to hit my Patreon right there. Patreon, and then also hit the Cash App, $DewanB1. Notice I got a new Cash App, $DewanB1. Make sure y'all hit that up. And then also go ahead and subscribe to my Patreon, because we do more. We get further into the music on Patreon. Y'all know on YouTube I can only play slight snippets before I get it straight. You know, we gotta, I wanted to make sure that I just talked about this so that we make it very clear. The East, and then also let's get into the regional thing, man. Ice Cube went to the East to get America's Most Wanted produced, The Bomb Squad. And he took his brother from the West, Sir Jinx, with him. Ice Cube wanted to get it produced by, of course, by Dr. Dre, but him leaving NWA, the business of music didn't allow that to happen. Black music, when it's at its best, is a cross-pollination of Black American sounds. The Bomb Squad used a lot of Parliament Funkadelic samples, just like Dr. Dre used a lot of Parliament Funkadelic samples. Whether you're talking about East Coast or West Coast, they all sampled music that came before it, that came from all across America. And when you get a cross-pollination of East, West, Southeast, East, South, Southwest, upper Northeast, Midwest with the South, Midwest with the East, Midwest in the West, West in the Midwest, East. Our music's at its best when it's a cross-pollination of sounds. The same way Cube went to the East Coast for production, when Biggie came out, Puffy used a West Coast production style on Biggie. Biggie's beats were West Coast. And we see that time and time again in black music. It's when you cross-pollinate. It's when you put Kanye's Midwestern sound with Jay-Z's East Coast flow. It's when you put Dilla's Detroit soul. You know, it's when Tribe has a West Coast kind of feel out of Queens, and then you have, you know, it's a cross-pollination. Like, all I'm trying to say is this: no black sound in America blew up all on its own. It's always been an East Coast artist with a West Coast producer, a West Coast producer with an East Coast artist, a West Coast arranger with a Midwestern artist, a Midwestern artist with an East Coast producer. All that regional set stripping got to stop in our music. We got to understand that we have music for black people. Appreciate the super chat, Russell Red. But when it comes to Dolomite, was all this stuff is just black history. You know how black folks get down. You know, it's in the domicile wants to suffer in silence. Yeah, you're right about that. They want to be quietly suffer what we going through and not express it. So yeah, when people like Ice Cube express that music, they want to give it a false label because they know most people aren't going to take their time to find out for themselves. Appreciate the cash app. No, I have a new cash app. $Dewan B1. $Dewan B1. They took my old cash app. They took my old cash app down, so I had to get a new one. $Dewan B1. So make sure you hit that up. $Dewan B1. Appreciate that, Leon Campbell, for the cash app. Monique Perry, I appreciate the cash app. H-A-A-H, I appreciate the cash app. So that's why I talk a little bit of shit about the coast. It's fun. We black Americans, we gonna talk shit. We gonna compete. We're a very competitive culture, competitive nature. So the East, West, Midwest, South, Upper Northeast, we gonna compete. That's cool. But let it stop at fun and games. Don't get too deep up into this shit. Because the best of our music is when there's a cross-pollination of things, East, West, Midwest, all put together. That's where the best of our sounds generally come from. All right? Don't get too caught up in the majoring in the minors and the small bullshit, okay? Understand that. So, this has been a history lesson on West Coast and quote-unquote gangster rap, its origins, where it comes from, our intentions with it, and how it got corrupted by the industry. The sound didn't get corrupted until Jimmy Iovine. And then even that second NWA album, 100 Miles and Running, that was once Jerry Heller put his touch on it. Eazy-E, he really was a gangster. So some of the stuff that he said was his life. But when you got to Dre and Snoop, I love both of them too. Snoop is one of y'all know all time. Snoop is one of my all-time favorite rappers of all time. And Snoop can do no wrong. But Snoop ushered in studio gangsterism. I can say that and still love Snoop. But if you also listen to Snoop talk, Snoop's last real gangster song was Murder Was the Case. He hit that gangster shit real hard on Doggy Style. Snoop backed off that gangster shit as the 90s went along because he talked about after murder was a case, he had a murder case. So when he listened to Dogfather, Rhythm and Gangster, by the time Snoop gets into the late 90s, The Last Meal, wasn't nothing gangster about The Last Music. The Last Meal just was good party music. Matter of fact, one of my favorite Snoop albums. Rhythm and Gangster, The Blue Carpet Treatment. Snoop wasn't on that shit. Snoop had moved on. Snoop really only gave you 1.5 gangster albums. Snoop only gave you 1.5 gangster albums. The rest of Snoop's career was not gangster. But Snoop unfortunately still gets titled with that, although that was just a particular era of his career. That was just one era in his career. Appreciate the Cash App, Alexander. Appreciate the Cash App, DeAndre. Yeah, The Last Meal is my favorite. Feels like I'm losing control, and I don't even know. Girl, you hurt me so bad because I love you so now. You know? Snoop wasn't on that gangster shit. Snoop had moved on to shit like this. He had moved on to that. You know what I mean? He moved on to this.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Can you dig it?
Man, come on now. You know. We stay on point like Stacey Adams.
We stay on point like Stacey Adams.
24 hours a day.
Snoop went into that. He wasn't on no gangster shit as the 90s went along. But the media kept perpetuating a stereotype of our music. And instead of people taking the time to listen to it forensically for themselves, they just repeated what everybody else said. Ben Glorious, I appreciate you for joining the Patreon. Ding, 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 ding. If I had a bell, I'd ring that motherfucker. That's my shit. See, Kenny Mac, you know. Any nigga named Kenny Mac is a cool motherfucker. I don't even know. I never even seen this dude in the chat room. Anybody name themselves Kenny Mac? This motherfucker here wears Stacey Adams. This nigga, Kenny Mac, people named Kenny Mac wear jeans, a sweatshirt, and Stacey Adams. But a nice sweater. I ain't talking about the little bullshit sweater. A nice one of them nice, good sweatshirts. I ain't talking about the Russell Athletic. I'm talking about the one that's with the right whoopty whamps and the boomty bands. Probably cost you like $500. But this nigga wear jeans and a nice sweater and some Stacey Adams. That's why he liked that song.
The club with my nephew Dub, 11:30, talking dirty to this little birdie.
That's my shit. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. You know, we stay on point like Stacey Adams. That's my shit, boy. Yeah, these niggas said coochie. Yeah. But that's what it is, folks. We can't let them define us. We got to define ourselves. And I'm pushing back at that whole West Coast gangster narrative. That was corporate music. It was corporate music. But y'all that go around talking about, and then a lot of people from New York, and I ain't talking about all New York, I'm talking about New York City, you niggas know. Many of y'all say, I got people I fucks with online. I'm not going to mention their names because I like they platforms, but I heard it on their platforms. Yeah, when the West Coast came, when NWA came with that gangster rap, that's what destroyed music. No. I just gave you guys a forensic analysis of the lyrics of what was called gangster rap at the time. And that's not what we came with. As the mid-90s came along and the corporate money got into rap, then the corporate gangster rap did kill music. But it wasn't with the West Coast. It wasn't with NWA, because NWA was trying to warn the rest of you, was trying to warn all of us what was going on. That was message music from the streets because of the social conditions that we were in. All right. I'm about to get up out of here now because I got other shit to do. All right. Thank y'all again for listening. Join the Patreon. We're going to have some more exclusive content on Patreon coming your way real soon. All right. Patreon.com/DeJuanB. All of that stuff is right here in the description and pinned to the top. It's in the description. It's also pinned to the top of your comment, in the comment section. All right. Thank y'all again for listening. And remember, there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those willing to pick up the game. Thank y'all again for listening. We out.